My dad transferred the family home to my brother because I didn't earn enough to deserve it. They all treated me like I didn't matter, until they stood outside the same house, confused, staring at the eviction notice with my signature. It happened on a Tuesday night in October. I remember because my mom made meatloaf. It was dry. It was always dry, but we ate it anyway because complaints weren't welcome at the Harrison dinner table. I was 29 years old, living in the back bedroom of the house I grew up in. I'd moved back 6 months prior after my landlord sold my apartment building to developers. I was paying my parents $600 a month, market rate for a room in our area, while I tried to scale my digital illustration business. My brother Tyler sat across from me. He was 31, wore a suit that cost more than my laptop and worked in pharmaceutical sales. He was the golden boy. The one who played varsity football. The one who never missed a car payment. My dad Frank cleared his throat. He had a folder next to his plate. "Your mother and I have been doing some estate planning," he said, not looking at me. He was looking at Tyler. "We've been thinking about the future. About legacy." I took a sip of water. I didn't think this involved me. Estate planning usually meant talking about their retirement funds or the cabin upstate. "We've decided to transfer the deed of this house to Tyler," Dad said. The fork stopped halfway to my mouth. Tyler didn't look surprised. Smug. He took a bite of potatoes and chewed slowly like he was savoring the moment. "Transfer?" I asked. My voice sounded small. "You're selling it to him?" "Gift of equity," Mom chimed in, smiling that tight, anxious smile she used when she knew something was unfair but had already justified it to herself. "Tyler is getting married soon. He needs a solid asset to leverage. And frankly, Maya, he's the one who can afford the taxes and upkeep." "I pay rent," I said. "I help with the bills." $600, Dad scoffed. "That barely covers the electric and the water. Tyler is looking at a promotion. He's responsible. He has a trajectory. And I don't." "You draw pictures on an iPad, Maya," Dad said. He closed the folder. "Let's be realistic. You're 29 and single. You don't need a 4-bedroom house. Tyler does. He's starting a family. So what happens to me?" I asked. The room felt suddenly cold. The yellow walls of the dining room, walls I had helped paint when I was 16, felt like they were closing in. "Well," Tyler said, speaking for the first time, "I'm not going to kick you out immediately. But Sarah and I are going to want to renovate. The master bath needs gutting. And we'll need the nursery eventually. You can take the basement until you get on your feet." "The basement? Unfinished. Spider Central. You want me to live in the basement of the house I grew up in while Tyler owns it?" "It's a generous offer," Dad said, his face reddening. "We're securing the family asset. If we left it to both of you, you'd just force a sale because you're always broke. This keeps the house in the family." "In the family." As if I wasn't family. I looked at Mom. She was aggressively cutting her meatloaf, refusing to meet my eyes. She had always been Dad's enabler, but this was different. This was an erasure. "I can't believe this," I whispered. "Don't make a scene," Dad snapped. "It's done. We signed the papers this morning with the notary. It's filed." I stood up. My knees were shaking so bad they knocked against the table leg. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the table. But that's not who I was. I was Maya the quiet. Maya the peacekeeper. Maya who absorbed the blows so the family portrait wouldn't crack. I walked to my room for now, and locked the door. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck to the ceiling when I was 12. They had stolen my inheritance right in front of me, and they expected me to say thank you for the basement. The next morning the dynamic shifted instantly. It wasn't a gradual decline. It was a cliff dive. When I went to the kitchen to make coffee, Tyler was there with a tape measure. "Morning," he said, not looking up. "Hey, try to keep your art supplies off the dining table. Sarah's coming over later to look at paint swatches. We're thinking of doing a gray tone. The yellow is dated." "I live here, Tyler." "You're a tenant," he corrected. "Actually, Dad and I talked. If you're staying, we need to formalize it. $800 a month. Plus a third of utilities. And the basement isn't ready yet, so you can stay in your room for 30 days. Then we move you down." 30 days. Closing timeline, he smirked. I went to work, my co-working space downtown, and just stared at my screen. I felt hollowed out. It wasn't just the money. It was the absolute certainty in their eyes that I was less than. That I was a secondary character in the movie of their lives. I checked my bank account. $4,200 in savings. My business brought in about $3,500 a month. Decent but not enough to buy a house in this market and certainly not enough to fight a legal battle against my father and brother. I felt small. I felt stupid for ever trusting them. That night I came home to find boxes outside my door. Just starting the purge. Mom chirped from the hallway. Tyler needs the closet space. They were my boxes. My high school yearbooks. My portfolios. My winter coats. I didn't fight. I didn't yell. I just carried the boxes back into my room one by one while Tyler watched from the living room drinking a beer. "Careful with the walls," he called out. "Don't want to scuff the equity." I closed my door and put a chair under the handle. 2 weeks passed. The humiliation became routine. I wasn't allowed to use the main bathroom between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. because Tyler needed to get ready for his real job. I came home one day to find my specialized ergonomic desk chair moved to the garage because it didn't match the aesthetic Sarah wanted for the living room. I was drowning. I started looking at studio apartments, realizing I'd have to move to the bad part of town. I was ready to give up. I was ready to just leave and never speak to them again. Then came the Saturday of the purge. Tyler and Dad were clearing out the attic. I was in the kitchen trying to make a sandwich without being in the way, when Dad came down carrying a dusty plastic tote bin. "Junk," Dad grunted. "Put it by the curb." He shoved the bin at me. "What is it?" I asked. "Your grandmother's old tax papers. Receipts. Garbage. I don't know why we kept it this long." Nana Rose was a pack rat. Nana Rose. My dad's mother. She died 5 years ago. Dad hated her. They fought constantly, mostly about money, mostly about how Dad managed it. But I loved her. I was the only one who visited her in the nursing home those last 3 years. I used to draw in her room while she told me stories about the house. I took the bin. It smelled like mothballs and lavender. "Trash comes tomorrow," Dad said. "Make sure it's out." I took the bin to my room. I don't know why I didn't throw it out. Maybe because it was hers. Maybe because I missed having someone in this house who actually liked me. I sat on the floor and opened it. It was mostly boring. Old utility bills from 1998. Christmas cards. A stack of Reader's Digest. But at the bottom, wrapped in a plastic grocery bag, was a thick manila envelope. It was sealed with tape. On the front, in shaky, cursive handwriting, it said, "For my Maya." My heart hammered against my ribs. I peeled the tape back. Inside wasn't money. It was documents. Legal documents. The first page was a deed of trust. Dated 4 years before Nana died. I read it. Then I read it again. Then I read it a third time, my hands shaking so hard the paper rattled. I didn't understand all the legal jargon, but I understood the names. Grantor, Rose Harrison. Grantee, the Maya Harrison Trust. There was a letter attached, clipped to the front. "My dearest Maya, your father has a way of taking things that aren't his. I know you're quiet and I know you let them walk over you. But this house is the one thing I can make sure he doesn't take. I've transferred the deed to a trust in your name. I keep a life estate, meaning I own it until I die and then it's yours immediately. Not your father's. Yours. Lawyer Stevens has the original. Keep the safe. Don't let them bully you. Love, Nana." I sat there. Stood up. Sat down again. If this was real. If this was real, Dad didn't own the house. He couldn't transfer it to Tyler because it wasn't his to give. But Dad had acted like he owned it for 5 years. He'd paid the bills or made me pay them. He'd acted as the executor. I grabbed my phone. I needed someone who understood this stuff. I couldn't call a random lawyer yet. I didn't have the money for a retainer if I was wrong. I called Uncle Ray. Ray was Dad's stepbrother. The black sheep. The family narrative was that Ray was a burnout who borrowed money and never paid it back. I hadn't seen him in 3 years. "Maya?" His voice was rough, surprised. "Uncle Ray. I found something. In Nana's papers." I met him at a diner halfway between our towns. It was raining. I remember the smell of wet pavement and frying bacon. Ray looked older, tired, but his eyes were sharp when I showed him the papers. He put on reading glasses from the drugstore. He read silently, chewing on a toothpick. "Holy shit," he whispered. Is it real? It looks real, kid. Stevens. Yeah, old man Stevens. He died a year after Rose. His practice got bought out. Dad transferred the house to Tyler last week, I said. They signed papers. Ray laughed. A bark of a laugh that made people turn around. He can't transfer what he doesn't have. Did they go through a title company? I don't know. Dad said they used a notary. A notary just witnesses signatures, Ray said. They didn't run a title search. Your dad probably just did a quitclaim deed. He assumed because he was the only son the house went to him when Rose died. He probably filed a simple affidavit of heirship and called it a day. He never probated a will because he probably destroyed the will. He called this bin garbage, I said. He told me to put it on the curb. Ray looked at me. Maya, you own the house. You've owned it for 5 years. They're charging me rent, I said, the anger finally breaking through the shock. They're making me live in the basement. Ray reached across the table and squeezed my hand. His knuckles were scarred. So what are you going to do? I don't know. Tell them. No, Ray said sharply. You tell them they destroy evidence. They file false claims. They drag this out for 10 years until you're broke. You need to be smart. You need to be a sniper. He pulled a crumpled napkin out of the dispenser and took out a pen. I know a guy. Real estate attorney. He owes me a favor from back in the day. We go to him. We file a quiet title action. We lock the property down. I can't afford a shark, Ray. He'll take it on contingency if the case is this clear. Or I'll pay him. You have money? I have enough to screw over your father, Ray grinned. It wasn't a nice grin. It was a wolf's grin. Act 3 began the next morning. I went back to the house. I walked into the kitchen where Mom was looking at curtain catalogs. Did you put the trash out? She asked. Yes, I lied. The papers were in my backpack, which was currently locked in the trunk of my car. Good. Tyler wants to start painting the hallway this weekend. You need to move your coats. Hey, I said. I became a ghost. I became the perfect, submissive doormat they wanted me to be. I moved my stuff to the basement. I paid the $800 rent. I even thanked Tyler when he allowed me to use the washing machine on Tuesdays. But every night while they slept, I was at war. I met with Ray's lawyer, Mr. Henderson. He was a small man in a beige suit who smelled like peppermints and looked like he could calculate your net worth by looking at your shoes. This is explosive, Henderson said, looking at the trust documents. Your father never filed the deed because he likely didn't know it existed or he ignored it. When your grandmother died, the title didn't pass to him. It was already in the trust. The trust owns the house. You are the sole beneficiary and trustee. So the transfer to Tyler? Void, Henderson said. It's a cloud on the title. We file a quiet title action to clear it. We prove the trust owns it. We prove you are the trustee. And then you legally own the home. And everyone else is a trespasser. The preparation was tedious. It wasn't like the movies. It was scanning receipts. It was tracking down the date of Nana's death. It was me sitting in the damp basement listening to Tyler and his fiancée Sarah upstairs talking about knocking down walls. I want an open concept. Sarah's voice drifted down through the vents. We'll have to take out that load-bearing wall, but we can put in a beam. They were planning to destroy the house. I had to stop them before they started demolition. But I needed one more thing. Proof of their malice. Proof that this wasn't just a mistake but that they were actively trying to cut me out. I started recording. Texas is a one-party consent state. I recorded everything. I recorded the dinner where Tyler told me, honestly, Maya, you should be grateful we're letting you stay. Most landlords wouldn't rent to someone with such unstable income. I recorded Dad saying, your grandmother was senile at the end. She didn't know what she wanted. It's good I stepped in to handle the estate or God knows where this house would be. I saved every text message. Tyler, rent is due. Don't be late this time. Mom, please move your car to the street. Tyler needs the driveway for his guests. Dad, stop asking about the attic. It's Tyler's storage now. Meanwhile, my business exploded. It was an accident. I was so stressed I started live streaming my drawing process on TikTok late at night from the basement. I didn't show my face. I just drew frantic, detailed architectural sketches of a house that looked exactly like ours while I told the story. I changed names, obviously. But I poured the rage into the narration. The prince took the tower, I said, shading the roof of a Victorian house. And the king told the daughter she belonged in the dungeon because she didn't bring home enough gold. The internet loved it. They loved the pettiness. They loved the art. User 129. This feels personal. Are you okay? Art girl and Defoya. I will be soon. Orders for custom house portraits poured in. $200. $500. $1,500 for a rush job. I worked 18 hours a day. I drew until my hand cramped. I saved every penny. I didn't tell a soul. One Tuesday, 3 weeks before our court filing, I came home to find a dumpster in the driveway. Tyler was standing there with a sledgehammer. What's happening? I asked, getting out of my car. Demo day. Tyler cheered. He was wearing safety goggles. We're taking out the dining room wall. The wall with the height chart. The wall where Nana had pencil marked my growth from age 3 to 18. You can't, I said. Excuse me. Tyler laughed. I own the place, Maya. I can burn it down if I want. Don't touch that wall, Tyler. Go to your basement, Maya. He swung the hammer. It smashed into the drywall with a sickening crunch. Dust flew. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I pulled out my phone, snapped a photo of him holding the hammer, the hole in the wall, and the dumpster. I sent it to Henderson. Text. Emergency motion. Injunction. No. Henderson texted back 1 minute later. On it. Sheriff will be there in the morning. I went downstairs. I put on my noise-canceling headphones. I listened to the thuds of the hammer destroying my childhood home, and I felt a cold, hard knot tighten in my chest. Enjoy it, Tyler, I thought. It's the last thing you'll ever break. The next morning at 8:15 a.m. the doorbell rang. We were all in the kitchen. Dad was drinking coffee. Tyler was sweeping up drywall dust. Mom was making eggs. I'll get it, Dad said. He opened the door. 2 uniformed sheriff's deputies stood there. Behind them was a process server. A guy in a windbreaker holding a stack of papers thick enough to choke a horse. Frank Harrison? The deputy asked. Yes. Tyler Harrison? That's me, Tyler said, walking over, still holding the broom. You've been served, the server said, shoving the stacks into their hands. What is this? Dad demanded. Is this about the permit for the dumpster? I told the city. It's a quiet title lawsuit, the deputy said. And a temporary restraining order preventing any further alterations to the property located at 42 Oak Street. Dad looked at the papers. Lawsuit? Who is suing us? The deputy pointed at me. I was standing by the fridge holding my yogurt. The plaintiff is Maya Harrison, trustee of the Maya Harrison Trust. The silence in the kitchen was absolute. You could hear the refrigerator humming. Dad looked at the papers, then at me. His face went from confusion to a shade of purple I'd never seen before. What did you do? He whispered. I'm protecting my property, I said. My voice didn't shake. Your property? Tyler laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound. Dad transferred it to me. I have the deed. You have a piece of paper Dad signed, I said. Dad didn't own the house. Nana left it to me. Liar. Mom shouted. It was the first time she'd ever raised her voice at me like that. She was confused. She didn't know what she was doing. The documents are all there, I said, pointing to the stack in Dad's hand. Along with the trust registration. And the deed recorded in 2018. It's all public record, Dad. You just never checked because you're arrogant. You ungrateful little. Dad stepped toward me. The deputy stepped in. Sir. Step back. Ms. Harrison has a protective order as part of the filing. If you threaten her, we will remove you from the premises immediately. Dad froze. He looked at the deputy, then at me. The power in the room shifted so fast it made my ears pop. You can't live here while you're suing us, Tyler spat. Actually, I said, leaning against the counter. I can, as I own it. You're the ones trespassing. But I'm gracious. I'm not evicting you. Yet. The weeks leading up to the hearing were a bizarre nightmare. They couldn't kick me out because of the injunction. They couldn't renovate. They couldn't even yell at me because I had cameras installed in the common areas. Another advice from Henderson. They tried to sweet-talk me. Maya, honey, Mom said one night, cornering me in the laundry room. We're family. Why are you doing this? Tyler has a baby on the way. Do you want your niece or nephew to be homeless? Tyler makes 6 figures, Mom. He can buy a house. He just can't steal mine. It's not stealing. It's keeping the family legacy together. No, I said. It's picking a favorite. And you picked wrong. The hearing was in late November. It wasn't a dramatic TV courtroom. It was a small room with beige carpet and buzzing fluorescent lights. The judge was a woman named Judge Holloway. She looked bored. She had a stack of files and a lukewarm coffee. Dad's lawyer was a family friend, a guy who did wills and traffic tickets. He was out of his depth. Henderson was surgical. Your Honor, Henderson said. The chain of title is clear. Rose Harrison deeded the property to the trust in 2018. The trust lists the plaintiff as the sole beneficiary. The defendant, Frank Harrison, attempted to transfer a property he did not own via a quitclaim deed based on a fraudulent affidavit of heirship. Fraudulent? Dad sputtered. I didn't know. It was my mother's house. Judge Holloway looked over her glasses. Mr. Harrison, did you probate a will? No, there wasn't one. And yet, Henderson interjected, we have a sworn affidavit from the notary who witnessed the trust documents, and the attorney who prepared them. The deceased was of sound mind. Uncle Ray took the stand. Dad wouldn't look at him. Rose was terrified Frank would take the house, Ray said, his voice gravelly. She told me explicitly. Frank will give it to the boy and Maya will get nothing. That's what she said. The crushing blow wasn't the deed. It was the rent checks. Henderson produced copies of the checks I'd written to Tyler. Your Honor, Henderson said. The defendants not only attempted to misappropriate the property, they charged the actual owner rent to live in her own basement. They collected $1,600 in illegal rent payments. Judge Holloway looked at the checks. She looked at Tyler, who was shrinking into his expensive suit. Judgment for the plaintiff, she said. She didn't even bang a gavel. She just stamped a paper. The quitclaim deed to Tyler Harrison is voided ab initio. Title is quieted in the name of the Maya Harrison Trust. Defendants are ordered to repay the $1,600 in collected rent plus legal fees. Dad put his head in his hands. Tyler looked like he was going to throw up. But I wasn't done. As we walked out of the courtroom into the hallway with the inspirational posters, Justice over a waterfall, which was ironic, I stopped them. Wait, I said. They turned. They looked defeated. I'm not selling the house, I said. Great, Tyler sneered. So you're kicking us out? No, I said. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. I handed it to Tyler. What is this? A lease agreement, I said. They stared at me. You want to stay in the house? I asked. Fine. You can stay. But not as owners. As tenants. I pointed to the document. Market rate for a 4-bedroom home in this school district is $2,800 a month. Tyler, since you wanted the master suite, you can pay $1,800. Mom and Dad, you take the guest room in the office for $1,000. I'm moving into the master bedroom until I decide to move out. The basement is for storage only. You can't be serious, Dad said. You're charging your parents rent? You charged me to live in a spider-infested basement, Dad. You told me I didn't earn enough to deserve a roof over my head. So now you can earn it. I won't sign this, Tyler said. Okay, I shrugged. Then the eviction notice will be filed in 48 hours. You have 30 days to vacate. Good luck getting a mortgage with a judgment for legal fees on your credit report. I walked away. I didn't look back. I got into my 2012 Honda Civic, drove to a bakery and bought myself the most expensive cupcake they had. I ate it in the car watching the rain hit the windshield. They signed. They didn't have a choice. Tyler had leveraged himself to the hilt buying a new car and furniture for the house he thought he owned. He couldn't afford a down payment on a new place yet. The dynamic in the house changed overnight. I moved upstairs to the master bedroom. I painted it sage green, the color I wanted. When I walked into the kitchen, they stopped talking. They did their dishes immediately. They asked before using the living room TV. It wasn't warm. It wasn't happy. But it was respectful. Fear is a hell of a respect builder. 3 months later, my art business had grown so much I hired an assistant. I used the rent money from my family to put a down payment on a duplex across town. I moved out, finally leaving them as my tenants. I hired a property management company to handle them. I didn't want to collect the checks myself. I wanted the distance. Last Thanksgiving I didn't go home. I went to Uncle Ray's. We ate turkey sandwiches and drank expensive bourbon. You know, Ray said looking at me. Nana would have loved this. She had a mean streak too. It wasn't mean, I said. It was just. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Mom. Happy Thanksgiving, Maya. We miss you. Tyler made the turkey. It's actually moist this time. Please come by. I looked at the text. I thought about the years of feeling small. The years of being the quiet one. The moment Dad handed me that bin of garbage. I typed back. Can't make it. Rent is due on the 1st. I put the phone down. I had lost the family I thought I had, but I found the person I was supposed to be. And looking at the deed to my second property, knowing my brother was currently writing me a check to live in the house he tried to steal, it was worth it.